All right, here's the consensus rankings I pull into my SQL table so I can update my rankings on certain pages. Certain I click to go to certain pages. Well, those rankings come from consensus rankings that I download, get into my database. Right. Well, I take that, so I have the rankings right up against my list. I just did my top 30 wide receivers, so there's my list. Well, consensus rankings versus my rankings. When you're drafting, you want to make sure that you're using the consensus rankings here. Use consensus rankings. Don't use your own rankings. See, as we start scratching them off, we're using my rankings here. See how well you're going down, you're taking the twos, you're scratching them off. Well, Amon St. Brown here is 6 picks, way too early using my list. Look at all those 6 picks in between there that you could have taken. All right, so we use the consensus list when we're drafting. Look how the difference is here. You marking them off as they go, and all of a sudden it's, here we go marking them off, and then all of a sudden it gets to your pick. You've taken a running back meanwhile. You didn't go down, jump down and take him on St. Brown. And you come back to the list, now all of a sudden it's your pick. Well, now you take him on St. Brown here, right? And then you start scratching some more. All right. And as it goes back, maybe you're taking a quarterback while all these get. Now it's back to you. Do you want to take Mike Evans? He's next on my list. Well, no, you wait. You don't do that. You wait, and then now you take Davante Adams. Even though you have Mike Evans there ahead of him, Mike Evans ain't going to get taken. You see, Davante Adams is the one about to be taken, so you might take him, then go back and take some quarterbacks. Meanwhile, they're scratching off, doing other things. And then you can come back and try to get Mike Evans later, right? So it's important where we take them. All right, so here's a consensus wide receiver rankings. I put my rankings here right next to them. All right, so we can find the differences and who I like better than consensus, right? So apparently I'm sniffing glue here on Stefon Diggs. I'm a little too high on him there. And Ibuka, I'm pretty high on him compared to consensus rankings. So you can see here who I really like, Jayden Reed. Now, I don't really look too much at consensus rankings. I never really do. I just want to, they might pollute my thoughts. And a lot of times if you sit around and listen to them, you get group thinking, you all thinking the same. So I never even watch any. So I'm kind of surprised by some of these myself because I don't really know what the consensus rankings are. And that Stefon Diggs one, I just can't believe that I'm 27 spots off. He's the number one guy there, and reports are he's healthy. I don't know. Anyway, I like Ibuka here, Jayden Reed. You could watch my receiver ones, but this is just a contrast between me and the consensus. So, Mike Evans, J-Mo here, Calvin Ridley. I really like him now lately here. Matthew Golden, Jordan Addison. I'm 10 spots higher than them, right? Jacoby Myers, Rome Dunze, I'm a lot higher on than they are. And Davante Adams here. So, and Amon St. Brown, right? All relative to our little bit difference, and I like Garrett Wilson too. I'm higher on that than anyone. Anyway, so here I take a rankings of the wide receivers and running backs. And I want to mark those people who I'm extra high on here that I like, and the same put some on the running back one here. So we get kind of an idea who I like, right? All right, so we got them marked here. We got my consensus rankings ready to go. Now, if I'm first pick, I'm taking Barkley here, all right? I'm not taking Derrick Henry just because I got an X by him. I mean, I still like Barkley better, all right? I do have Derrick Henry second, but anyway. And in PPR, you guys would probably like Jamar Chase better, right? So, hey, I do auction bids in all of mine. And I don't do snake drafts, but we're just pretending like it's snake. We used to do them a long time. And we do snake after the 6 rounds of buying. So anyway, we'll do this more as a standard to running backs. But like I say, I would take I'm sitting on Barkley. And Robinson probably would go first. Then Barkley probably gets taken, and then Gibbs probably gets taken. And, up until then, I'd take Henry, but if Henry gets taken, well, you see that a lot. And then maybe even more. This is where they start a run on running backs, right? Well, if I'm picking right here after these running backs went, you want to be a trendsetter, right? Right? You see here, I would go over and take a wide receiver there after there's so many running backs taken. Like right here, you go take Justin Jefferson or the wide receiver here you like, right? Because, we've seen these tiers. And after you get here, after there's tiers, and when you get down to here, who cares who you're taking? The little difference between them. It's just not. So you want to break those runs. You go to the opposite and take someone else like Jefferson here. A lot of times, and unless the person right after that's the person you want. But anyway, you want to break runs. So we took Jefferson there, right? Even though you'd be tempted to take Josh Jacobs here because it's coming up and they're taking a lot of running backs. And, well, you try to wait, right? You try to wait and hope, maybe they take a couple more. You took that receiver. Well, right, you went over and took Jefferson hoping. Well, meanwhile, they're starting to scratch off more. Well, and then, boy, you've probably started to run as they start. Well, hey, he took a receiver. They start taking receivers. So hopefully, the whole story is you can come back and get Jacobs here, who you wanted. Meanwhile, you got Jefferson over there just because, hey, you didn't want to jump the gun on the running back. And a lot of times you can't get him. Sometimes it comes back, you don't get him. Josh Jacobs, you waited and you tried to skate and get him back, but then you don't get him. Well, hey, that's all right. Amon St. Brown over here's on my list next. We'll just take him. You got to be flexible as you're drafting. Flexible. And then maybe there'll be some more wide receivers taken there, and then maybe a couple running backs and maybe a couple more wide receivers. And then you can just take James Cook, who you liked anyway, too. And you'd be strong at receiver and not so much at running back. But, hey, it's just flexible. Taking the guys you like. All right, so remember some of the guys I was liking there was Diggs, Ibuka, the Green Bay boys. And that brings up an interesting situation here, these Green Bay. You can double up. Look how cheap they are. Here he is at 36 for Golden and 48th ranked for Jaden Reed. So you can get both of them with no investment. And whichever one pans out, you have him. You're not sure which one it's going to be, you take them both. And the thing is, they both are going to play, and you both probably are going to be. You could start, and the deal is, you get the bonus multiplier. The bonus multiplier is right. Well, if one of them gets hurt, well, the other one scored more points than he normally does, right? And it doesn't matter which one. And in fact, this doubles your chances of getting one of them getting hurt. I mean, you have the other guy. So, I mean, it just really works to your advantage, son, doubling up. Don't be afraid to do that. Happens a lot. Hey, look at Detroit last year. The Baltimore thing was lit for Gibbs here in the last 4 games when Montgomery was out. He just went crazy. Double your chances, right? Doubling up. Green Bay, I like them. Hey, I like the Detroit ones. I have some of the Tampa. Here's some more of the guys I like. Anyway. Here's a whole bunch of guys. You got a lot of guys that I liked, we saw earlier. Well, here's that consensus rankings here. And then, as they're getting scratched off, that's when I would want to take him on St. Brown right here. Remember, I liked him. Well, hey, when they're all scratched off above him, that's a good time to take him. Boom. And then sometimes you're not going to get him, and that's why you're flexible. You have a lot of guys you like, and you're willing to take, you don't want to overpay. And Davante Adams here with the boy, I'd take him right there, even though, you sneak in, you can have one guy above, maybe as it gets close right there, even, you'd like to take Mike Evans. There's always a guy coming up, scratch that you like. So don't be reaching 6 or 7 things down the pit to take somebody, right? We don't, you're back here and you're reaching for, say, Metcalf here. We don't do that. You wait and take a running back and come back and hope he's there. We've shown that. So, anyway, be flexible. You want to be flexible in your drafting? Hey, no favorites. You don't come in there, I got to have a certain team, I got to have a certain player. That just sets up for paying too much and reaching, right? Consensus rankings, we use those to get an idea of the flow and where people are going to be taken so we don't overpay or overdraft or overtake. And let the player come to you. That's the main thing. You don't be reaching and grabbing because I like the guy or anything. You just let him come to you. And hopefully, and last thing, draft responsibly. You want to make sure you're drafting responsibly. All right.